Y'all, we have a lot to talk about today. First and foremost, Tropical Storm Cristobal has formed. Yes, the correct pronunciation is Cristobal, not Cristobal. And we also have two areas of development, Invest 92L and 94L. And I'll let you know if either of these could get close to land. And I'll let you in on a little secret. We may have to watch one of these a little bit more closely. We also will continue to see severe storms in certain parts of the country. We'll break that down. A heat wave is ongoing in the southeast, and unfortunately we're going to be dealing with this for a while. I'll let you know how long. Monsoon season is in full effect in the southwest, and the wildfire risk continues for the northwest and other parts of the country as well. So we're going to get into all of that today. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jessica Fernandez. I'm a meteorologist that worked on TV news for 7 years. Now we made this YouTube channel so that we can get into all things weather, and I'm not a traditional meteorologist. Obviously we do things a little bit differently around here. So if you like to have fun and also know your weather forecast and the threats that could come along with it, please make sure that you do subscribe. I will love you forever. All right, guys, let's start off with the tropics. Obviously, that's probably the biggest topic for today. We have got Tropical Storm Cristobal. By the way, Cristobal, that is a Spanish name. In Spanish, it's said Cristobal, not Cristobal, so that's why you have to correct the pronunciation, okay? Because it sounds like some of y'all are saying crystal ball. Anywho, this is close to the Azores here in the Atlantic, and the good news is that when we look at the cone, it's not going to be a threat to land. So moving on to the two Invest that we have a little bit further down to the south. We've got Invest 92L and Invest 94L right off the coast of Africa here. So let's break down what we could expect. When it comes to Invest 92L, most models show this Invest arriving maybe as a tropical storm at the most. Two portions of the Lesser Antilles here in the Caribbean, but really a lot of models are showing it arriving as an open wave here. So just some rain that moves into this area, but it may briefly get a name before arriving to this area. So it could arrive to the Lesser Antilles in the Caribbean as a tropical depression, tropical storm, or nothing at all. But basically, long story short, it's going to fall apart either right before or right after it arrives to these islands here in the Caribbean. And that is because around that time we're going to have a ton of wind shear here, as you could see in the red here in the Caribbean, which basically means that the environment is not going to be favorable for any sort of hurricane development at all. So basically, even if it ends up getting a name, it's going to fall apart shortly thereafter. At least that's the more than likely scenario for now. Of course, we know that that could change. But yeah, I don't really think that we need to worry about this in the US. I'd be on the watch though in places, for example, like the Lesser Antilles in the Caribbean. Now, Invest 94L is a different story, right? At this stage in the game, we're going to look at ensemble models, and of course these could change as well, so that's why it's important to subscribe so that we can talk about the changes as they happen. But according to the GFS ensemble, this could potentially move towards the northwest instead of moving directly into the Caribbean. And the Euro ensemble is also showing some of the same, maybe getting close to land here. So I think we're gonna have to watch Invest 94L a little bit more closely. Right now, it's way too early to tell exactly where this could potentially go, but the chances of both of these getting a name are on the high side, okay? Especially for Invest 92L with an 80% chance of development here over the next couple of days, and Invest 94L with a 50% chance over the next 7 days. And that chance has been growing day by day. So we will watch this very closely. Now let's go ahead and talk about the weather that we're expecting here in the lower 48, because it's hot as hell outside, okay? We've got high pressure dominating here in the southeast. Because of that, our heat index is going to be redonkulous. It's basically going to feel extremely hot across the southeast with the heat index in the triple digits, okay? As you can see here on the map. And that's going to be for Thursday, okay? And speaking of Thursday, several records could be broken. For example, Savannah, Georgia, expecting a high of 99 when the record is 98. New Bern, North Carolina, 96 when the record is 96. So we could tie the record there. And if we get to 97, then obviously we break it. Savannah, Georgia, 99 when the record is 98. Amarillo, Texas, 102 when the record is 102. On this map, we could see where we're going to be way above average for this time of year. And unfortunately, we're going to stay like this for a while, okay? This is Thursday. Friday, by the way, where we're seeing the yellows, oranges, and reds, that's where we're way above normal for this time of year. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and even Wednesday. So basically for the foreseeable future, it's going to feel boiling hot outside, okay? We've got several spots that are under heat alerts at this time. okay? Heat advisories and excessive heat warnings. Now, in other news, we have to talk about the severe weather threat that's going to continue as we head into the next couple of days. And that's all going to be due to a front that has basically stalled out over the Midwest, into the Great Lakes, and even stretching into the East Coast here. And because of that, this Thursday, we are talking about severe storms once again in some of the areas that have already been seeing severe storms for the last few days. We're talking from Colorado into portions of Indiana, Illinois. We're talking about portions of the plains, the Midwest, okay? Now, the good news is that the severe weather threat isn't super high. It's marginal, level 1 out of 5 risk, right? But either way, we need to be on alert. We do have an isolated tornado risk over here in Illinois and Indiana, stretching into Kentucky to include places, for example, like Peoria, Springfield, Effingham, and Bloomington. Hail over 1 inch in diameter will be possible for this entire area. And we're also talking about winds over 60 miles per hour. Even on Friday, this threat is going to continue. So from Colorado once again, but this time stretching into portions of Virginia, West Virginia, Ohio as well. Once again, marginal risk level 1 out of 5 risk for this Friday. Now, with the storms, we're also talking about the threat of course, unfortunately, seeing some flash flooding here. That threat is going to exist on this Thursday and Friday as well, as the storms continue. On both days, we're talking about a level 1 out of 4 and level 2 out of 4 risk for both of those days. But for tonight, Wednesday night, remember, we still have that very rare moderate risk over portions of Indiana, stretching into Kentucky and even a sliver of Ohio. So please be extremely careful with this. Remember, turn around, do not drown. We also already have several flood alerts over here in this area, from the Great Lakes stretching down into portions of the Tennessee Valley. Now, you're also going to notice here that we have some alerts also here out west, and that's because monsoon season is in full effect over here. The storms are going to continue in this part of the country for this Thursday. Flash flooding that's going to be possible out here out west, and that's also going to be the case on this Friday. And even for this Thursday, we are talking about a marginal risk of seeing some severe storms in portions of Nevada. Now, speaking of the West, we also have to talk about that wildfire risk. Isolated dry thunderstorms could be possible in portions of the Northwest and even down here into Oklahoma and Texas, where you see the purple. And basically, we're talking about storms where rain doesn't reach the surface, but lightning does. And the reason that the rain doesn't reach the surface is because it's way too dry, but that lightning could unfortunately spark a wildfire. So unfortunately, that threat exists for this Thursday. And if I go ahead and zoom in, you're going to notice here we also have an elevated fire risk in yellow for portions of Oklahoma, stretching into Texas to include places like Amarillo and also Oklahoma City. So make sure that you're not starting any fires outdoors, okay? Even something as simple as throwing a cigarette on the floor could potentially spark a wildfire that could spread very rapidly. So don't do that. Anyways, that is all for today, my wonderful friends. Thank you so much for joining me on this wonderful day. I hope that you guys go ahead and subscribe. I will see you guys in the next video or live stream.